Well, welcome to another episode of the Soul Focus podcast. It's great to have you guys. So we've got Lids and Josh.
Whoop, whoop.
Hello.
Yeah, so the three of us are back in action.
The trio.
Yeah.
Back again. What's that song? No,
Guess
never
who's
mind.
back?
That one, yeah.
That's the one. Yeah, very good. Fabulous. Yeah, it's good to have you. So we're going to just dive in as we normally do. Give a little bit of a recap on last episode. So we looked at how do we deal with difficult relationships? What does that look like? How do we approach the issue where we want to be humble in our relationships, but at the same time, if that's negatively affecting us, surely there's some limit to that. So that is where we sort of felt like the best place to say, right, this isn't working for you right now, is when your capacity to love is diminishing. Right. So that was sort of where we got to. There's some other areas that we talked about, but that was that was kind of a core conclusion that we came to, wasn't it? So today we want to look at what does it mean to have a deep, meaningful friendship. So we're looking specifically at friendships today. So we're going to dive right in. So are there friendships in your lives that you've maintained that friendship from childhood? And the second question is, why do you think that you've been able to maintain that friendship?
So I guess the answer for me is yes, there are friendships that I have maintained since childhood. But there's different levels of those friendships, isn't there? Like there's some people that I have been friends with since I was a child, but they're not as deep a friend as someone else who I've also been friends with from a child. So I think there's sort of different levels of friendships where ones where you could like not see them for 10 years and then you could reconnect and it would be like you've never had a distance between them. Or there's ones who, if you were to go 3 months without talking to them, that would be as if your friendship is over because you don't go that long without talking. Why I think I've maintained those relationships from childhood, sometimes I think that's circumstantial, based on where you now live, based on the things that might have happened in your life, who people might be in a relationship with, marriage, all of that sort of stuff. I think there's a lot of factors that add up to that. But what about you, Josh?
Yeah. Similar interests. So the friendship I'm thinking of, we laugh at the same things, we watch the same things, we have very similar values. I think that's also a big one. We don't disagree on many big moral issues. Yeah. Right.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, I was just thinking about like agreements, disagreements. I also thinking of one particular friend, that our friendship we've maintained a friendship for so long because we give each other a lot of grace. Like there's areas that we might disagree on, but we still love each other so much that it would never have an impact on us being friends because we know each other really deeply and we know that our intentions and our heart are not to hurt each other. So I think grace in a friendship is what allows it to carry on for so many years.
Yeah.
Can you think of any?
Yeah, similar really for me. There are many friends that I've kept, friendships that I've kept since childhood. There's one in particular that is very strong and similar to what you were saying, Lydia, that we could go, potentially months go by and we catch up and it's like, we've never been apart, or, there is something that almost transcends space and time, There are those friendships. Why? Similar to what you were saying, Josh. We share similar interests. We also had quite a similar upbringing. So there's a solidarity there in what we might have gone through in our childhood.
Yeah.
So you share in that experience of childhood or whatever it is at school, and I think that's something that brought us together, and also has kept us together. So there's an experiential aspect to these deep friendships, I think. I just want to pick up on the point that you just kind of were discussing, because it was one of the questions I had, which was, do you think these deep friendships, do you think they require common values and common views and similar interests, or do opposites attract? Do actually you find that sometimes those friendships, you have quite differing views, but that almost brings you together as well? So you both touched on it from different aspects. So I just thought, let's explore that a little bit more. I think that might be interesting.
I don't know, I would find it hard to imagine a friendship where there was no common ground. I find that very difficult to imagine.
Yeah.
That I would have a friendship where we just didn't have anything in common. And we had no sort of foundation whatsoever. And I think, to go back to the question of why you might have maintained friendships from childhood, as you've just said, one of the things you will have in common is that you went to the same school.
Yes.
You knew a lot of the same people. You experienced the same things at the same age. And so you can relate on that level. So that's still common ground. Whereas as an adult, meeting someone where we just had absolutely nothing in common, like there wasn't one thing, I believe it could happen, but I find it hard to imagine for myself right now.
Yeah. So you couldn't think of an example of that then?
Where I just I've got a friend who I've got nothing in common with. No, I don't think so.
I mean, fundamentally, the other person will be a human.
Yes.
So you'd have that in common.
That's
so I
true.
guess by definition,
In
we
some
can't
way,
say
though.
that there is
Unless we're
nothing
going to
in
go
common.
down the road of like,
Yeah.
we could go down the road of pets being friends, but I feel like that would be a massive tangent to
Yeah.
what you're trying to achieve.
We'll come back to that.
Clem's my best friend.
Clem is a cat.
Clem is a
Yes, we'll just clarify that is Joe and Josh's pet cat.
I'm trying to think. I think I have gotten along with people who I disagree with.
Yeah.
But I can't think of a close friend who I fundamentally disagree on big values. I can't think of one. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Do you have any examples?
Yeah, it's difficult because I think there are friends that I have where I do disagree on fundamental values, which tend to be values we don't discuss often. But interestingly, that then feeds into the fact that potentially that friendship isn't as deep as it could be because those values aren't always spoken of.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a tension there between the limits of that friendship versus the values and views of the people that are involved in that friendship. So those two things tend to be, have to be in balance with each other. So yes, I can think of them, but I know that there are other friendships that would be deeper, because the values are shared, or there are values that are not shared, but they're almost secondary. Right. So we have conversations about them freely without any sense of feeling like it's awkward or any sense of passion for those values, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. I guess it's whether the both of you, as I almost said before, like are willing to give each other grace and be open to talk about those issues without, you use the word passion, but I think really what you mean is a sort of like an anger, right? A sort of like a...
It could be, yeah.
They they want to argue about it.
Yes.
Rather than discuss it in a healthy way. I think that all comes down to a person's heart and a person's attitude towards discussing it. And I've definitely had conversations with friends who I might not agree, or like our worldviews might slightly differ, or whatever it is, but it's been an open conversation. And that's only ever been with friends who I know I can trust.
Yeah.
And I've got a foundation there that they know that my intention is not to harm or upset or offend, but actually I just want to journey with them and I just want to explore things with them.
What about then? So there's two aspects to this next question. So these deep friendships that you have, these people that you're thinking of, can you tell if they're not being completely honest with you? And the two things that I think is interesting here. The first one is obviously you must know them well enough in order to tell if they're not being completely honest. But also there's an aspect that you almost can't ever know their true intentions. So that's it. So that's an interesting aspect of deep relationships. Have there been situations where you've been like, I don't think you're being honest with me? I'll challenge that.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know whether I would describe it as a scenario I'm thinking about. I don't know whether I would describe it as they weren't being honest with me, but they weren't acting themselves.
Yeah. Okay.
I think is the way I would describe it. And they probably didn't even necessarily recognize that. They were just going through a hard time.
Yeah.
And they were just different. And so I wouldn't say it wasn't that they weren't being honest. They weren't being honest to themselves, like living as the person they really were, because they were processing so much stuff that was going on. But yeah, that's not them deliberately being dishonest with me. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's an aspect of motive, and we spoke about this in the first episodes when we talked about humility. The humility not to cover the intentions that you have in your speech. Yeah. So I don't know what I can't remember what the example was. It was something like, "Oh, I'm going to Africa to feed all the kids."
Oh, I hate.
Oh, and it's so strenuous, so
stressful.
stressful, or whatever it is. Yeah. So there's an aspect of you kind of hiding your true intentions. So there's
that always reminds me of Have I mentioned this on the podcast before? Maybe I haven't. I don't know. The meme or the stuff you see on social media about office talk or email talk.
Okay.
So it's like when you write an email and you say, "Oh, we could do." It means absolutely not.
Yes.
But you're not going to say absolutely not.
Exactly, yeah.
So you're just politely going, "Could do."
Yeah.
Or "I look forward to hearing from you" means reply to this email now. So that's like covering your true intentions. That's just a stupid example. But
yeah, absolutely.
I think I can tell when a close friend is not being genuine. It's usually because they don't want to hurt my feelings or they're going through something. I think I can tell. But you're right. You never fully know because ultimately their thoughts are inside their head, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I can.
When you've gone through that, how would you feel about that situation?
About them not being honest?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would feel a little bit concerned as to why they can't be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? One of the things that we'll have a look at is that when you know someone really well, you just alluded to it, your concern for it is because that relationship is so deep, isn't it? Right? But it's reciprocal. So, when we are, I know there's been times where I haven't been honest with people. One of them being Lydia. You'll know times where I've not been honest with you.
Yeah.
In fact, last year, for example, when I went through a fair bit of anxiety, And there were multiple times where I didn't share with you completely the way I was feeling, such that she couldn't really help me. So there's an aspect of a deep relationship, I think, it's a two-way thing, obviously. One is the care and the love you have for that person, such that they would be honest with you, because you know they're going through stuff, right? And then there's the other side, which is the sort of the grace that, well, okay, they are going through stuff, and I've got to be aware of that.
Yeah, there's a bit of patience involved, isn't there? Because there's definitely been times with you where I've noticed you're a bit off.
Yeah.
Or I can tell when he's not listening to me, because he just says the word "yeah" over and over again. He just constantly agrees with me, and I'm like,
yeah,
he's not
yeah.
listening.
Yeah.
But I will recognize when you're a little bit off, and there's been times where I've been like, Stephen, I know something's wrong, just come on and tell me. But actually sometimes that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you need the time to process whatever it is you're going through to be able to articulate it in a way that I'm going to understand, as you've just said, be able to help you.
Yeah.
So I think it's also about not rushing friends as well. And I can definitely be guilty of that because I'm an impatient person. But grace and patience, I think, is really key.
Right. Before we go on to this particular question, I just want to give you a few different statistics around friendships, both from the UK and also from the US as well. So in the US, there's 8% of people say that they don't have any friends at all.
8%?
8%.
That's quite high, really, isn't it?
So it's quite a significant
not
amount. Yeah.
Whoa, okay.
And then, so 38% of people say that they have 5 or more friends. And then there's obviously the various percentages in between the two. So there's quite a high percentage of people that don't really have any friends. In the UK, so half of Brits say that they find it difficult to make new friends, and 35% find making friends is fairly difficult, and then 16% say that it's very difficult. 1 in 5 Brits say that they have become distant since the coronavirus pandemic. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. And so back in 2022, 50% of adults, or just under 50% of adults, so that's 25 million people, or 26 million people, rounding up, in the UK reported feeling lonely, either occasionally, sometimes, often, or always.
Golly. So
there's a strange sort of development happening at the moment. And I say strange because there's a feeling, a sense that we are more connected than we ever have been. Yet there seems to be a significant amount of loneliness in our world today. One of the things that I think would be an interesting stat or an interesting experiment, which there might already be some research that's done on this, but is to see the rate of loneliness increase as the population increases, and also the rate of loneliness increase versus the connectedness of people. So the rate at which technology has allowed us to connect from, the increase in technological advancements, and the rate of increase of loneliness, and just see the.
Is there not that in the Anxious Generation book?
I think it might be, yes.
By Jonathan Haidt.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a graph
he does
about...
something around that.
50% of adults, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's very high.
Yeah. Interestingly, I sometimes follow the Big Think series on YouTube. And there's a chap, I've forgotten his name now. Oh, Derek Thompson, that's it. So he was speaking, I think he's a journalist, he was speaking about the fact that we're living in an antisocial century. So it's an antisocial pandemic rather than a loneliness pandemic. The reason he calls it that is because with loneliness, you know that you are lonely. You appreciate that your need for connectedness, for friendship, to be with other people, for that social connection.
Yeah.
But he thinks that society today is quite happy to be alone. There's actually an aspect of, when somebody says, "Oh, I can't meet up tonight," you kind of go, "Oh, thank goodness." Thank goodness I couldn't.
Yeah. I can relate with that.
It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Just when you get an evening in, there's this feeling of
So nice, isn't it?
sweet relief.
Yeah.
But it snowballs though into a greater issue, doesn't it? Yeah. And I think I remember one day we're all at home, and I just had a day just by myself in the house. I was just on my phone all day, from morning till evening. And I think when you're scrolling, you kind of enjoy it. But I think after that, I was just so defeated and lonely. The aftermath is really detrimental.
Yeah.
But in the moment,
feels good.
It feels great.
Yeah.
Feels great to binge a show or do something on your own.
Yeah.
But it just isolates you even further, doesn't it? Yeah.
And it's interesting because in that video by, what was it, Derek Thompson, yeah, he was saying that the reason you end up, if someone texts you like, "Oh, let's go out tonight, let's have a coffee," or whatever it is, the reason you end up saying no is because when you've been scrolling, you've been getting those dopamine hits and it's been feeling really great, but actually you're exhausted by it. Like it drains your energy.
Wow.
And then afterwards you're thinking, I don't have the energy to go and do that now. So then what do? Stay at home and sit on your phone more. Like it's so relatable. Like we all do that. And actually, we should just have a mass digital detox, shouldn't we?
Probably.
Yeah.
Just turn off the internet for a day. Could you imagine?
Yeah. I feel like that would probably cause more problems than it solves. But
Yeah.
But it would be a fun experiment.
It would be,
to see what happens.
I think if we didn't...
I mean, planes would not land. Like, we won't go into... It would just be terrible.
You say
Maybe
that.
for certain things you allow the internet, but...
Yeah, I was going to say there's probably infrastructure in place such that...
You would
hope
hope
so.
so.
I'd hope so,
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're already really touching on the answer to the question of why there aren't that many deep, meaningful relationships today. I mean, one of the things as well is that it's very hard to have so many deep relationships, right? You have to choose who you invest your relationships in anyway, because you can only give a certain amount of yourself to people. So there's that aspect.
I was just going to say, I think this is something I've heard on different podcasts and reading about in different books, particularly to do with your 20s. And actually in your 20s, there's a lady called Mel Robbins. She wrote the Let Them Theory, but she also talks a lot about the 20s. And she says there's this moment after university or college where there's the great scattering, she calls it, which is where you all sort of scatter into different locations and doing different things, when before you've been on a level playing field, like you've been at the same stage of your life at the same time. And then what happens in your 20s is you have a lot of friendship breakups, like drifting friendships, or just friends that were just there for a little season and you were really close, and then suddenly they move to London and you don't, or they move abroad and you don't, and it's like you don't speak again, but that's kind of okay. Whereas there's those other friendships that you lose in your 20s that are actually like a romantic breakup. Like, I wouldn't say I've actually experienced that myself, but I've had friends who have lost friends, not necessarily because of a fallout. It might have been because of a fallout, but you've just disconnected. And actually that's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about, we were thinking about the friends that we've had since childhood, the thought of that person not being your friend anymore is really deeply painful.
Yeah.
And actually, but in your 20s, you do have friendships, or people can have friendships because of circumstances or whatever, that just drift away.
Yeah.
And I don't think we actually give ourselves the permission to grieve those friendships.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't think we talk about it a lot. I don't think we talk about the fact that, they were a massive part of my life.
Yeah.
They journeyed with me through the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. And now they're just somewhere else and I don't know anything about their life now. Like
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's really hard. And yet it happens a lot in your 20s because you all move about, you do different things, you settle down with different people. Like it's just, you make new friends. And as you say, you just don't have capacity to have deep friendships with everyone. So the thing is, you have to make the choice. And if someone else makes the choice that you don't want them to make about your friendship together, that is really painful.
Yeah.
Like, how do you reconcile that? And
Wow.
I don't think we talk about it enough.
My goodness. Yeah, I'd not thought about that at all. That's really interesting.
What's the name of the woman you mentioned?
Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins.
She's also hilarious.
She's brilliant. Yeah.
There's a podcast called, I think it's 13 Things to Stop Doing in Your 20s. And one of them is, I won't swear, because this is a clean podcast.
Yeah.
But it's basically, stop buying bleep you don't need. And I was like, that's great. That is what we all need to hear.
So going back then, let's circle back round to this, why there isn't many deep, meaningful friendships. So there are aspects of life where you will just drift apart from those people because of circumstance, like you say. But what about our interaction with technology? What about the way in which we do life? What about our values? What about our belief systems? How do those things contribute to the way that we have these relationships? I mentioned quite a few things there. So we start with technology.
Social media, obviously, we've kind of touched on that already.
Yeah.
It's a big one. Just when you're scrolling on your own. I think that it's a very seemingly harmless thing that has a huge impact, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to continue doing it. So
it's the
don't call me out on it.
Yeah. I won't call you out on it.
Maybe we should call each other out.
No,
on
we
it.
should.
I don't
We
know.
probably should.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I don't know the ins and outs of the science, but my understanding is that it's the anticipation of the next thing that could potentially give you something of worth, whereby the endorphins start to flow. So your brain kicks in at the point in which your thumb is about to hit the screen, almost not the content itself.
Yeah.
It's before you actually see the content.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which is just crazy to think about it in that way, but you're sort of, it's almost betting. It's almost
Well,
Yeah.
they're designed like that. Like social
Yeah,
media
yeah.
platforms are built on the same mechanism that gambling is built
Yeah.
on in terms of addiction and keeping you on the platform and all of that.
in the sense that the scrolling thing, it takes your time away from potential
Yeah.
conversations you could have with other people.
Yeah, and I think it
And your-
directly isolates you.
And brain space.
Yeah.
Interestingly, thinking about technology, the other one that jumps to mind is Zoom calls. So
Yeah.
obviously that's massive out of the pandemic. But I do think there's a tendency now to, for good and bad reasons. I remember before the pandemic when my dad was working, he used to fly to New York for a half-a-day meeting. That's just absurd.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. But companies were doing that all over the place, and now they don't. They use Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, they might. I don't know. They might still do that. I don't know. But actually, sometimes we can revert to doing Zoom calls or WhatsApp calls rather than actually making it more intentional and going, okay, let's actually have a weekend together rather than just catching up on video call all the time. But the thing I was going to say about Zoom calls is in a group setting, if as a group you're just doing Zoom calls, you never really get to know anybody because only one conversation can happen at a time because of the audio and how just Zoom calls work. And therefore there's not any of that side conversation where you're talking about your kids or you're talking about what you're doing at the weekend or whatever it is. I think that level of communication through technology, and sometimes we might revert to that rather than having an in-person event, means that we have less connection on an individual personal basis.
Yeah. All right. What about value systems and beliefs? I'm thinking maybe about the culture wars, for example. How does that have an impact on friendships?
I think there's almost like a vetting process now before you decide whether this person is going to be your friend. I don't think we thought about stuff like that before, but right now, because of stuff on the news or whatever, or social media, I think people are trying to figure out what your views are on a certain topic before, and maybe decide to cut you off or pursue a friendship with you. Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think people are very wary, I guess, of, there's something about you that I'm not quite sure about, and therefore I'm just not going to pursue this. And sometimes maybe that's okay.
I mean, we spoke earlier about the fact that you can't have deep relationships with everyone. So that you do need to have some sort of process or some choice that says, I can't invest in you, but I will invest in you instead. But I think what you're probably alluding to more so is that vetting process has become a very high bar.
Yeah.
We're very quick to swipe left, as it were,
And maybe debate's not the right word, but we don't give room for robust conversations.
Yeah.
Where you challenge your own views, maybe.
Yeah.
We don't have the humility, I guess, to say, okay, your life or the way you see things is quite different to me. We can often have the humility. We don't have the humility to say, maybe actually there's something I can take from you. And maybe I don't have to agree with everything, but maybe there is something in your life that is actually going to give me some piece of gold that could really improve and fulfill my life. But we miss it because we're too proud, because we think, but the way I'm living is the right way.
Yeah.
And actually having those robust and open conversations means that we could actually give each other a bit of that, because all of us really, we want to find truth, don't we? We want to live, and from a Christian point of view, we believe, there is a truth, and we're all trying to find that, whether we realize it or not. And I think sometimes we can miss elements of the truth in other people because there's all this noise going on. And actually, if we just had the humility in the heart to be like, you're interesting. I've never quite met anyone like you before. Let's explore that. And it might be that you don't become friends with them.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but at least you've not dismissed them.
Yeah. So why do you think that it's easier, and this probably goes back to what we spoke about at the beginning, but why do you think it's easier to open up with some people and not with others?
Yeah, it goes right back to, for me, it goes right back to the beginning, that we've got a common ground.
Yeah.
Or as Josh was saying, a common values. And
I think part of the values needs to be a sense of grace, like you inherently showing that you can give grace. Do you see what I mean? You have to feel comfortable with that person.
I think there's potentially some people who if you were completely open with, they wouldn't be your friend anymore. And that's not necessarily because you're an awful person, but they just couldn't cope with it for whatever reason.
So here's an interesting one for you then. To have a deeper relationship, we have to open up with said person. But at the same time, if we feel like that opening up with that person about something they're not going to be friends with you anymore, then it feels like there's kind of no way out. You almost have to lose that relationship to gain it. I've got to say some aspect of who I am that they're going to disagree with and potentially disown me. But you've got to do that in the faith that there's a potential that you could have a deeper relationship. And actually you could stagnate with that person if you don't open up and do you see what I mean? So it's a bit...
I have a good example of this, and it's about my mum, actually. So my mum passed away 18 months ago, but she was a bit of a clean freak. Would that be a way of describing it, Stephen?
Yep.
And when we first moved into our marital home together, she was very vocal about how our house was not to a standard that she thought we should be living in. And there was basically a time where I had to almost call her out on that, because it was getting quite painful. Like, I just never wanted her to be there. And that was really sad. And so I tried to address it, and it went horrifically wrong. Like, it went really, really wrong. She reacted quite badly. And I had to, in a similar way to what you were saying, I had to tell her that I disagreed with her. I had to do that because it was causing such a wedge in our relationship. And I knew if I didn't, we would never have like a meaningful relationship. And so I then, after her reaction and it went really wrong, like my dad was involved, it was a whole thing.
Yep.
And it was really, really upsetting. I didn't talk to her for 4 days maybe. And she was reaching out to me because she hated the fact I wasn't talking to her. But I just couldn't. I couldn't emotionally process like some of the things that she'd said and all of that. And then on the 5th day, we had a phone conversation, and it was the most honest conversation we had ever had. And it was incredible. Like, we cried together. Like, it was amazing. And then basically for the last 6 years of her life, she became my friend. Like, it was, yeah. It was amazing, because if I hadn't actually done that and said, no, this isn't Mum, this isn't who I am. I am not someone who is going to have a spick and span house. That's just not who I am. And she had to learn to accept that. But if I never told her, we wouldn't have had that time, those years of a really good relationship. And I would have missed it. And now she's not here. So how thankful I am that I did that.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Feels like to me the core principle there is to have the faith to speak into a relationship, even though it's hard, even though it's really difficult.
And it probably will go wrong initially.
Initially, you've got to kind of get over this initial hump where there's going to be some tension, it's going to be tricky, it's going to be hard. But when you have that conversation, there's the gold at the other side waiting for you, this quite incredible development of relationship.
Yeah.
I think that only works with people that you know are for you. So I think you can
Yeah.
bank on the fact that your mum was for you.
Yeah, for sure.
You
Yeah.
know, and I think there's friendships in our life where we know it's going to be hard to open up to them, but I know they are for me.
Yeah.
They're championing me. So maybe to answer your first question was, it's hard to open up with certain people because you just know they have other agendas maybe or hidden motives. Yeah. So it's harder to open up with some people because of that.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Yeah, I think I think that's really good, because actually we can open up to the wrong people sometimes. And we do have to be careful about who we open up to.
Okay, well that leads on to the next question, which is, how do we know that people, our friends, have a pure motive?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, we said right at the beginning that you will never truly know.
I think it's through experiencing them, because it's a bit like showing, not telling.
Yeah.
So if you, Stephen, as my husband, say I love you, that means very little if you don't actually show that to me.
Yes.
And so I think as you spend time with someone, get to know them, and the way that they treat you, or the way that you see them treating other people, or the way they react to certain things that are happening, you know, if something happens in the world, how are they reacting to that? What's their response? Like, are they really angry? Are they just like really compassionate? Like what is the way they react to things in the world? And you're only gonna, or situations, like a classic example is colleagues. Like you see the way that colleagues react to each other and to certain scenarios that happen in work, and you get to know very quickly whether they're someone you would really want in your life in a large capacity or whatever. And that only comes through spending time with them. I can't see any other way that you would develop that trust. Because I'm pretty sure that you love me. I'm pretty sure of that. But I can't be 100% sure, can I?
There's an element of faith, I think.
Yeah.
I think there is an element of faith. It might be very, like, the required faith might be very small because, hopefully I do show you that I love you.
Sorry, Josh, taking it into a marriage counselling session now.
Yeah, can you help us out? That'd be great. Just on that, slightly tangential, but it kind of speaks back to the technology thing we were talking about before. Because when you experience somebody, you understand their dislikes and their likes, and therefore, in certain scenarios, how they react. Now, that then shows you when they're acting in love such that they are going against the things that, they really want to do. So, for example, I might be like, this isn't actually that true, but there was a time where I enjoyed a good lie-in. Now, if you said to me, I need you to take me to the train station really early, you know that I don't like getting up. And then I do it, is a sign of love. So there's a tension there. So, but you need to know both of those things. You need to see me need to know my dislikes, and you need to see me acting against those to know the love. Now, the reason I mention that is because you don't really get that with purely social media and texting, right? You just see I'm sitting at my computer, I'm in a bubble now where I feel comfortable, but you're not experiencing them.
Yeah.
What do they enjoy? How do they react in this scenario? How do they? And those things allows you to see that what you're doing right now is a loving act, or it's not a loving act because actually you wanted to do it anyway, right? It's like that sort of thing of, for example, people pleasing. Okay, doing it for them because you actually want them to like you. We would suggest that's not really a pure motive for relationships. So, but you've got to know somebody to understand that. You've got to know that they struggle with that or not struggle with that in order to see that the expression is of love. Because we know that the expression of love can be hidden. It can be, you can hide your true motives. We know that people are very good at doing that. So you have to go on that journey. You have to journey with people and experience people in order to understand their kind of true motives. And I think, as you say, we won't ever know truly, like verifiably, because we're not inside people's heads, but we can get a good idea, I think.
Yeah.
So, how much does putting on a metaphorical mask stop us from having deep friendships?
Go on, Josh. Josh has preached a sermon on putting on a mask.
I did preach on this, yeah.
You must have a few things to say.
Yeah, you would think so.
I think.
there's something about someone not being genuine that you can just sense, right? So I think when you're trying to connect with someone, I've definitely been in scenarios where you're just trying to connect with a group of friends or people that you've met for the first time, and they're just not being real with you, or there's that disconnect. So there is maybe that mask. That's a very what's the word? A very surface level mask there.
Yes.
But when you're diving in deeper with a friendship, someone who you call a friend, and they're putting up a mask, I think there we're talking about they're not being real with their struggles with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think we've already established that it's in those hard conversations that you're able to prove to each other your love for them.
Yeah.
And so if you're not open with them about your struggles, you're not giving way for love to deepen.
Yeah.
So that I think maybe that's why when you have a mask on, you just can't get deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're almost robbing them and yourself of the opportunity to have a friendship when you do that. Because you're not allowing them to the chance to really feed into your life in a way that you actually need them to, and vice versa. Yeah, I think it's sad. It is sad that we can't always feel like we can do that.
Yeah.
But I think once you find those people that you can do that with, you've just got to make sure whatever happens, whether it's you move or, you all go through rough times and all of that sort of stuff, you've just got to make sure that you hold on to those friendships. Because they are the ones that last. They are the ones that are really deeply significant.
Yeah.
And are the biggest blessing in your life, really.
Yeah. I mean, you touched on it there, but deep friendships help the transformational process, right? So there's an aspect where you transform because of other people. That's what you're basically saying.
Yeah.
But it's funny because that then feeds into the relationship, because you journey with somebody as they transform. So you're experiencing their transformation, which is quite a beautiful picture, right? So there's a dynamic aspect to a deep, meaningful friendship. The process of change, both changing based on each other's kind of challenge and support and love towards each other, right? So, and I think it's important to realize that, if you want to transform, it's the relationship isn't the means to that transformation. The transformation is the means to the end, which is the relationship. I think that's an important one. You got that? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
So the relationship is the end. That's the
goal.
That's the goal. But it's more than just a goal. It's just meaningful. It's I don't know, I'm searching for a better word, really. It's the pinnacle of life, I think. And everything feeds into that. So the transformational process is just another thing that feeds into that. But we do seek it as well. It is something that gives us life. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think the transformation thing is really interesting because it sort of goes against a little bit of a cultural narrative that you shouldn't have to change for anybody.
Yes.
And now there is I think that opens a whole other discussion about that, because there is definitely, if you're with someone romantically or with friendships or whatever, and you're having to change who you fundamentally are to fit in with that, then yes, that's you putting on a mask, as we've just said. But actually, friendships and relationships are supposed to change you.
Yeah.
Like, if I was still married to the 22-year-old Stephen that I married, that would be a little bit odd, wouldn't it? Like, if he hadn't changed at all,
if he hadn't developed,
that wouldn't be real. We wouldn't have journeyed together. You would have been stagnant. You wouldn't be happy. All of those things. So actually, change is a fundamental part of a relationship together. Like, the person that I am today is different because I now know Josh.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, if Josh wasn't a friend, I wouldn't be the same person because he's challenged me, he's encouraged me, all of those things. So I think the cultural narrative of don't change for anyone can be really dangerous, actually, because relationships or friendships are about you changing each other in a really great way.
And what about finding solitude in others? So going through hard situations together. Have you experienced that where just, your friends come alongside you in a really difficult situation, or you've come alongside them,
Yes. It's so much nicer going through a difficult thing with someone. I don't know. I think it makes you more resilient in that issue. It makes you face it with a better attitude. And I think also, if you go into a challenge and you come out of it on your own, that's really disheartening. But if you do that with someone, I don't know, there's a victory to it instead of a defeat. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think there are certain things that if you did it on your own, you might feel a sense of satisfaction.
Sure.
Maybe. But there's certainly, I think it's rare that you don't rely on anybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's usually some people that are around you in some capacity. So it's very rare that I think you could say, I did this entirely on my own. But you're right. I think there's a victory in saying there's somebody beside me. I've come out of this. Thank you. And look at the development of that.
Yes.
That relationship through this hard time.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? I'm just thinking as you're talking about that. Have there ever been scenarios where, like, someone you kind of know is going through a hard time, but they don't really have a lot of friends, and they start to reach out to you, and then your reaction is a bit like, well, I don't really know you. Like, I can't think of a scenario myself, but I'm just thinking about the fact that if you don't lay a foundation of good, strong friendships, even when things are going really well, when you then reach out to people, is there a barrier there?
Yeah.
Because people's reaction might be, well, I'm really sorry you're going through this, but I don't actually have, they might not say this to you, but I don't actually have time to deal with your thing. Like, I got my own thing going on. But if they were a deep friend that you've journeyed with, you would never have that reaction. You would be there for them.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that we need to be open to help people that we don't know.
Yeah.
But also have a recognition that if we don't invest in friendship when things are going really well, we might not have the deep friendship that we need when things go wrong.
Yeah.
So, as you were talking, I was just thinking, actually, that's another argument for being like, friendship is so key.
Yeah.
Like, it's so key.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there are various, and there's a long list of very significant friendships through history, right? I just want to pick one of them as an example. So the
Which
Beatles.
one? Oh, the Beatles.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Paul McCartney and John Lennon. So
Right.
their relationship in writing songs together and journeying together was incredibly significant. But I wanted to, it's relevant to what we were just talking about. When we lost John Lennon, Paul McCartney, he wrote a song, Here For You, I think it's called. I think that's the song. And it was a reflection of their friendship and what he would say, what conversation he would have had with John if he were alive. I think it was a couple of years after his death. But there's a significance in the passing of somebody, I think, whereby when they do pass, the significance of that relationship just skyrockets. It's just, we don't need to dwell on this too much, but I'm just thinking back to your mum,
Mm.
you know, that the significance of her life and your relationship with her and the impact that she had on so many people was shown at the funeral.
Yeah.
And it just sends out a message of invest in relationships, invest in relationships. And I think that's just really important.
And we've also seen as a result of that, like, relationships reconnecting, which sometimes is quite hard to think, oh, why has it taken that for that to happen? Like, come on, guys, like, why has it taken that? But sometimes people need that. People need a reminder that life is short. Like, we're not going to be here forever. And we don't really talk about death, but I don't think we should talk about that now. But it is that thing of, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this together. Because John Lennon is such an example of a death that nobody saw coming.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there was any preparation for that at all. So, yeah, it reminds me a bit of Ed Sheeran as well. He had a friend who was, I think he was in the industry as well, but he died, and then Ed Sheeran wrote the song Eyes Closed.
Yeah.
Which is all about, like, he's dancing with his eyes closed because everywhere I look, I still see you. And it's that thing of, I'm sort of going through life a bit blind because I can't not see you in anything.
Yes.
And that happens after someone passes. Like, that definitely is there with my mum.
Yeah.
Like, there's things all over this house that she bought.
Yeah.
And you have to sort of live that. You can't ignore that.
No.
Yeah, there's definitely that moment of, that was a really significant relationship.
Yeah. Another example, I just want to dwell on this a little bit. So in the Bible, we've got David who took down Goliath.
Woo, go David.
Yeah. The scripture describes the relationship between Jonathan and David as something that is kind of beyond superficial, very deep relationship. I just want to read this because there's a few scriptures that I think sums up deep friendships, and I think we'll probably end with this. So in 1 Samuel 18 verse 1, it says that after David had finished talking to Saul, who is Jonathan's dad, Jonathan became one in spirit with David. And I think that's significant, that bit, one in spirit. And he loved him as himself. So there's a recognition that, and we've been talking about this, that you're developing this friendship such that you become one in spirit, despite all the things that you might disagree on, despite all the flaws, despite all the messiness. You become one in spirit, and you love the other person as yourself. I think that's really beautiful. And then the other scripture is in 2 Samuel 1:26. This is after Jonathan had died. David says, "I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother. You were very dear to me. Your love for me was wonderful, more wonderful than that of women." And there's an aspect of David's appreciation of Jonathan after he died, which is kind of speaks to what we were saying. But I think one of the things I think that we should take away this week is to recognize that we can get to a place with people where we are one in spirit, despite the seemingly impossible nature of that. I think it's possible, and that we've got to have the faith that we can do that with others. So I think we'll leave it there. Is there anything that you might want to encourage people for or challenge people with this week?
Yeah, maybe try not to cancel any plans with people.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's probably something I should learn from as well. Yeah, because I think that slog of getting ready and getting out of the house is so worth it when you get to connect with a friend.
Absolutely.
If you have a moment this week where a friend pops into your head, and even if you haven't texted them for a while, just text them saying, "I was thinking of you. What's going on? Do you want to catch up?" And see what happens.
Yeah, great. Fabulous. Well, I think we'll finish there.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
I'm really warm.
It is very warm.
It's so
It's a
warm.
hot
So
day.
we're
We
gonna-
have been sweating.
We're going to jump into a
God.
cold shower, I think, individually.
Yeah, I was going to say not all together.
You can cut that, Joe. Dang it. Right. I don't know where it's going.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.